Okay. So all of you can see the screen.
No, sir.
So in metal semiconductor junction, we were discussing about the band structure. Then we said that we can drive the equation of current. Do you have any
Sir, we can't
question
see
from
the
last
screen.
class?
Not
We
visible.
can't
See the
see the
screen.
screen, sir.
So we can't see the screen.
You can't see the screen. Why? Let me see again. Screen 2. Now can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So last class we discussed about the metal semiconductor junction, and we said that because of metal work function and semiconductor work function difference, there is some kind of potential barrier. So if you look at the potential barrier, and this potential barrier can be changed from semiconductor side only. So if you apply a potential, then only the semiconductor side um, this barrier will change. The metal side barrier called phi b does not change. Can somebody tell me why? When we apply the bias, why only on the semiconductor side it is changing, not on the metal side? The barrier, especially the barrier height, only changing on semiconductor side, not on metal side. One mark question. Any guess?
So it is like P plus N junction.
Yeah, you can say that. Um, for P plus N, the depletion region mostly comes on the N side, right? But if you look here,
Yes.
this is metal, right? So metal will respond to any bias very quickly, right? But on the side of semiconductor, you can vary the this depletion width thing, right? So the potential will actually have the as the option to change. On metal side, there is no such change. So you cannot have depletion region on metal side. So if you see here, this potential is actually dropping across a depletion region only. Okay. So now there are a couple of possibilities that if you see here, because of the gap between the Fermi level and the conduction band edge, the carrier concentration is changing. So electron concentration is going like this, is increasing like this, right? So there can be a diffusion current also. Then there can be tunneling also, because if we make this barrier thin, there can be tunneling also. And of course, some electron who have energy more than this barrier, they can cross over the barrier, right? And that is called thermionic emission, right? So unless they are specially designed, this tunneling will not be important. Only in special cases this will be important. And diffusion current, all of you know. So, and especially in metal semiconductor junction, it is a thermionic emission that takes a bigger role. So we will just drive the equation for thermionic emission current, and that is typically the IV characteristic of a metal semiconductor junction. So to drive it, what we are going to do, we are considering, we are calculating one component, the current flow due to carriers from semiconductor to metal. Then what we will do, at zero bias, of course there will be zero current. So these both the components will be equal, from semiconductor to metal and metal to semiconductor. When you apply the bias, the barrier on semiconductor side is changing. So if it is forward bias, then of course there will be more carrier flow from semiconductor to metal. When you reverse bias it, this will go down, so it will become almost zero. So you will only have means in reverse bias you will only have current due to uh, carriers flowing from metal to semiconductor. So we can basically say that your overall current density will be some kind of JSM. JSM will be basically, you can say, some kind of J naught. So this will be J naught basically. This is always J naught. This is always J naught. And on the semiconductor side, it will be exponential QV by KT, right? And then this is opposite side, so -1. So its format will be same as PN junction diode current. And then you can also think about it that this J naught or the saturation current will depend on this barrier, right? So this J naught will have a factor of e to the power minus q phi b by kt and some coefficient. So this is the expected form. Now, if you look at this diagram, you can write the current is equal to q times v times n, or you can write qv times integral dn. Now dn you can write dn is equal to the density of a state times the Fermi function times dE, right? This we have derived. So either you can use those equations that we have already discussed. You can input f and g there and do the integration and get the expression. Here I'm using another method, but both will give the same result. Here what I'm doing, I'm writing dn as again same thing, f g times, but here g I'm writing volume of dk, right? G is volume of dk, right? And then I'm integrating fg together, so it becomes integral f dk. Now dk volume is basically kx k by kz. So in this derivation you can recall what we wrote, the dk over volume was 4 pi k square dk, right? Which is same as dkx dk by dkz, right? Now we are using dkx dk by dkz because it is one direction where we need to consider minimum velocity. Other two directions there is no such limit, because only the electrons which have velocity or kinetic energy more than this barrier, they will be able to cross over this barrier. So the integration range will be different. Then dkx dk by dkz divided by the volume of one cell. So you can recall the volume of one state was 2 pi by L Q, right? So 2 pi Q by the volume of the material LQ. Then Vx, because this is in x direction, let's say this is x direction. So Vx, now F we are assuming it to be non-degenerate semiconductor. So Fermi function can be written as simply exponential EF minus E by KT. Now E minus EF can be written as because see we have this relationship, right? And this is EC. So E minus EC, we know that E is equal to, and at any point E is equal to EC plus H bar square K square by 2m. So for E minus EF you can write E minus EC plus EC minus EF. So this will come out basically, it is a constant thing. The gap between the Fermi level and conduction band edge is constant for given doping. So it will come out and you will have E minus EC, which will be H bar square K square by 2m. Then there's another relationship between EC minus EF. If you look at the previous slide, EC minus EF. This is, oh, you can see here, this is EC, this is EF, right? So EC minus EF is this gap. That you can write the difference between phi b minus this barrier height, VBI minus V, right? EC minus EF. This gap is the barrier on metal side minus barrier on semiconductor side. So it's Q phi B minus VBI. Then EK minus ECF, of course, is H bar square K square by 2m, and it is also half mv square. It's kinetic energy. So these both are same. And of course, V square can be written as Vx square plus Vy square plus Vz square. Similarly, K square can also be written as Kx square plus Ky square plus Kz square. And if you compare the individual component, you can write K is equal to mv by h bar, right, for each component. And the minimum velocity required will be half mv square is equal to q times the barrier height. So half mv square is q times barrier height, and it is also equal to h bar square Kx square by 2m. So either you can do integration in terms of K or V. It will be same thing basically. You will get the same result. Okay. Now what we do? We break down this component exponential EK minus ECY. So that you can write for X, for Y, for Z, right? So for X, this Vx will appear. For Yz, there is no such component because current is in X direction. Then your limit should be the velocity, minimum velocity to infinity, right? So actually this is right, minus V to minus integral will be same if you use the limit V minimum to infinity. So this is basically assuming that X is in pointing from right to left. Then these are fairly well-known integrals, and this will be if you write this thing here, e to the power minus x square is integral is root pi, right? And if it is 2 sigma square or something here, then this becomes sigma root 2 pi. Basically, square root of this denominator. So if you substitute it, it becomes root 2 kt by m times root 2 pi. So these both are integrals the same. This is VdV is dV square. So it will be simply exponential thing. Multiply this coefficient 2 kt by m, and and when you put all these things together, you get expression like this. Now here A is called Richardson constant. And its value is fixed, 120 ampere per centimeter square per Kelvin square. And you notice one more thing here. This is exponential minus q phi b by kt, and it is exponential qv by kt, right? So it depends on both the barrier from metal side and the applied bias, which basically changes the barrier height from semiconductor side, and that this coefficient is proportional to temperature square. And K is the Boltzmann constant. This is Boltzmann constant. And rest are basically just constants, right? Planck constant, reduced Planck constant, h bar, m is the effective mass, q is the charge, right? And there is another term you might be interested to know. There's a factor called kt by 2 pi m square root, right? This is called Richardson velocity. So this is basically the average velocity in minus x direction or plus x direction, right? Root kt by 2 pi m is the average velocity, right? So if you extract out this thing from this coefficient, we can get a very nice expression. This is the overall expression with the Richardson constant. Now if you extract out this thing, you can write this coefficient as this is basically J naught, right? And then here what you have done, we have subtracted -1, the saturation current. So this becomes a total current. The expression we derived was from semiconductor to metal carrier flow, right? It is the overall current. So we have just subtracted -1 here. Now this J naught basically can be written as it is 4 pi m u k square by h q times t square, right? And this can be written as kt by 2 pi m times 2 times 2 pi m kt by h square power 3 by 2, right? Now can you recall what is this expression? 2 pi m kt by h square power 3 by 2 times 2. This is of course root kt by 2 pi m is the Richardson velocity. Can you recall what is this term? When we
Effective
derive
density of
the
states.
equation for current, right? We wrote n is equal to nc exponential ef minus ei by kt, right? So this is basically nc, the effective density, right? So you can basically write this as effective density of a state times the Richardson velocity times exponential qv by kt times exponential minus q phi b n by kt, right? And of course q will be there, q will be here, right? Q will be outside, there is no q here, right? Anything missing? So q times v times n, right? And of course those exponential things. And there is a derivation for diffusion current also. We will not drive here, but that will also be similar. In case of diffusion current, this Richardson velocity will be replaced by drift velocity, and which will be mu times E, and this E will be the electric field at the junction, which you can calculate from the charge distribution. Okay. Okay, so this is basically the IB curve on semi-log scale. So this is JF, the current density, and this is the forward bias, and it's a linear relation. This is a curve for tungsten silicon and tungsten gallium arsenide. So if you know this expression for the current density, this is I have written only from semiconductor metal. This is the total current basically. So can you extract the barrier right from this one? Now, what will be the y-intercept? Your y-intercept will give you the. So if you take a linear this thing here, what will your y-intercept? Your y-intercept will be basically this part, right? If you plot on log scale, right? So for high values of voltage, you can ignore one. So it will just be exponential qv by kt. And then when you plot on log scale, it is proportional to v, and this is the intercept, right? So your J naught will be the intercept, including this q phi and kt. So from the intercept, you know most of the things. You know the Richardson constant, temperature. We can calculate the potential barrier, right? So the barrier height can be calculated from the saturation current, which is obtained from the y-intercept. Now let us compare this Schottky diode with PN junction. In case of PN junction, both the carriers participate, right? Means electrons are injected from N side, holes are injected from P side when it is forward bias. But in case of metal semiconductor junction, only one of the barrier is changing from semiconductor to metal, and it is basically a majority carrier device. It's a majority carrier device, right? So this will be fast also, because majority carrier can respond quickly. Then here there is no limit on the minimum velocity of electron, right? So in forward bias, electron and holes can glide down, right? Even with zero velocity. or zero kinetic energy. But here a minimum velocity is required to cross over the barrier. So the current limiting factor in case of PN junction will be the basically the diffusion rate, or how fast these carriers are removed. In case of metal semiconductor, it again depends on how easily this carrier can jump the barrier. And of course, this is a unipolar device with the majority carrier device. And here both the carriers take part in the current flow. And you have noticed other things also. In case of PN junction, depletion region appears on both sides. But in case of metal semiconductor, depletion region appears only on the semiconductor side. Now, this is basically called a Schottky contact or Schottky diode. Can we make a ohmic contact between metal and semiconductor? If you see this picture, this is for metal and a semiconductor, N-type semiconductor with the Fermi level of the semiconductor being below the Fermi level of metal, right? That means phi m is less than phi s. So in this case, what will happen? This will be the barrier. Now barrier is negative here, right? So there is no barrier, right? This is pi m minus chi. So, but when the Fermi level align, this basically Fermi level has to be somewhere here, and this conduction will be here, and this will be smoothly connected. So the barrier will become small now. So if Fermi level is close to EC, then there will be no barrier, right? So of course it depends on the relative position. So in any case, the barrier from metal to semiconductor side will be small. And you notice one more thing here. This Fermi level is higher, so it will have the tendency to supply the electrons, right? And you notice the gap, right? This region becomes the conduction band edge is close to the Fermi level, right? So here there is accumulation of which type of carriers? Electrons, right? So there is no depletion region here. In this case, there is no depletion region. So charge is provided by the majority carriers, and there is no depletion, or you can say there is accumulation. So in such case, this barrier being very small, so electron can go from either side. Very small voltage will be required, so it will behave like a ohmic contact. Same thing you can do for p-type semiconductor. In case of p-type semiconductor, requirement will be just opposite. This phi m should be more than the phi s. So it will basically look like this. This is metal, and so if they are aligned here, then what will happen? Let me use different color. Then we will come here, right? And this will start from here. So now there is no barrier for holes, and there is small barrier from metal side. And then this is basically because Fermi level is very near the conduction band, so there is accumulation of holes, right? So this is positive charge, this is negative side, and again there is accumulation, not depletion. So in such cases, for N-type, phi m less than phi s, for P-type, phi m more than phi s, the contact will be ohmic. Now let us consider a situation. Let's say we have our PN junction or NPN, BJT, right? And we want to make contact. We want to make all ohmic contact. Now, with this requirement, you can make ohmic contact only with particular material, with particular. Now we may make ohmic contact for a given material with whether it is N-type or P-type. So there is a technique for that, and the technique is called, what we do, let's say this is the N-type semiconductor. N-type semiconductor. So this is a barrier here. So what we do here, we highly dope this region. So this is n type, this become n plus. So when it become n plus, what will happen? This Fermi level and the conduction energy will be crossed, and there is a lot of electrons will be there. So again the barrier will be there, but it will be thinned down, because for the n plus, especially for high doping, the Fermi level will be above the or inside the conduction band, right? So it has to go here anyway. Now this barrier is very thin, so electrons can easily tunnel through it. So that will basically act like a ohmic contact. So whether you apply the forward bias or reverse bias, both sides electron can move through, and the mechanism will be, of course, tunneling. So that will require very high doping concentration. So that way you can make ohmic contact with n type or p type. So for n type you will have the n plus doping here. For p type we will have p plus doping at the metal junction. So that will give us a ohmic contact. Now in real metal semiconductor junctions, there are other factors also. So it is not that straightforward. What happens? You have this piece of semiconductor. Now we are truncating it here. So that means there will be dangling bonds, right? And this dangling bond will create a state, right? So that means inside the bulk semiconductor there are no states here, but at the surface there are states here. So these states will be filled. So there will be some kind of band bending there, right? So that means when it attaches with the metal, those carriers, instead of being supplied from the bulk energy level, they will be interacting with these electrons in the state. Now wherever there are large state, that will be kind of the attaching point for the metal, and their energy level will lie. And this phenomena is called Fermi level pinning. So if the number of states are 0, right, then it will be same as the original diagram. If there are very large number of states, infinite, then it will pin down exactly at that particular value. And if it is in between, then this value will slightly change. So you can see the diagram here for Fermi level pinning. So these are the states, and let's say these states occur at energy Q phi naught from the valence band edge. So you can say the distribution basically looks something like this, and this is the middle thing. So up to this it is neutral, and if it is filled up to less than this, it will be basically the lower state will act like donor type. If it is filled here, then it has extra charge, it will be acceptor type. So if it is filled up to the neutral level Q naught, this is neutral, and if it is filled more, then it will have negative charge, and if it is filled less, then that means some states are empty, so it will be positive charge. So that means now instead of Fermi level, these states will interact with the metal. So the charge will be exchanged from this these surface states. And when surface state concentration goes to infinity, the Fermi level will be exactly attached at Q phi naught. Are you understanding it? Please ask if you have any question. And when the metal Fermi level is attached to this energy level, then your this barrier height will be fixed, right? The difference between EC and this Q phi naught. So that will be your barrier height. So in this case, now what will happen to the Fermi level? So Fermi level will still be aligned, but at the metal semiconductor junction, the barrier will be determined by the this interface energy level, or the trap states or surface states. Okay, let us look in more detail. you can basically calculate these parameters. They are very simple. I will go through them one by one. First, we'll go through these different parameters. Q phi m, right? So this is a work function of the metal. Then Q chi is the this is the affinity, electron affinity of the semiconductor. And then psi bi is a built-in potential, what we are calling is VBI. And then of course Q phi n is basically EC minus EF, and Q phi naught is the gap between EV and the surface state. Surface state neutral level. It's a neutral level. Then the surface state will interact with metal, and they will make some kind of very small or very thin interface layer. And we can call this interface layer metal semiconductor. Sometimes they form a compound also, like they may form metal silicide. And then there will be some drop across this interface layer also, and that is basically delta. So the potential drop is delta and energy drop is Q delta. So please discriminate between the two. There's a potential drop delta and the energy drop is Q delta. Now what is the charge in the semiconductor region, space charge region? That of course will be QND times WD, that we all know, and WD you can calculate very similar to the PN junction, same way you can calculate. And this KT by Q actually appears if you have done the quiz in the end of that one of the class. We asked that if you assume, if you consider the majority carrier variation in a PN junction, right? So the charge is not rectangular, rather there is some slope here. And if you consider this variation, you get this KT by Q factor. So this is your space charge region, right? Now at the surface or the interface charge is given by the density of a state called DIT, right? Is a interface trap density, number of traps, right? So it's like density of a state, right? Then times the energy. Now energy of which region? Energy from the Fermi level in the metal to the conduction band, because these are filled, right? So if it is exactly at Q phi naught, this charge will be 0 because this is a neutral level. If it is above, then this will be negative charge, right? So it is written as basically Eg minus Q phi naught. This is Eg minus Q phi naught minus Q phi. So this is basically this gap, right, between the metal Fermi level and the neutral level, multiplied by minus Q, because we are assuming this to be we are subtracting from right side the left side. So that will be the space charge. So total charge will be the sum of these two, Q space charge plus Q on the interface. And the delta will of course the drop across the interfacial layer. If you consider the thin charge layer, the field due to that is Q by epsilon, right? So field times the length will be the potential. So it is delta times Qm by epsilon will be the potential barrier, and you can also write in terms of phi m and chi and this phi b and naught. Now when you equate these two, you substitute phi ss plus phi sc here in phi m, and you equate right side with the left side. So you get this kind of expression, right? Now if you assume, because this interfacial layer is very small, is order of a few angstrom. So if you ignore this charge, then then it will be exactly same as the metal semiconductor junction, right? If DIT is small. If DIT is large, then most of the charge is taken care of by this interface layer. Then you can ignore the space charge part. So if you ignore the space charge part, you will have this equation phi m minus chi minus phi b n naught is some coefficient times Eg minus q phi naught. So you can basically write phi n is a sum of phi m plus some constant. So you can assume a linear constant with some coefficient. You can hear this phi b n naught here, phi b n naught here, right? You add these two, you get in terms of you can basically work out if you like the coefficient C1 and C2. Ignore this part, just consider these two parts. So that is when there's a large interface charge density. So in case of there is no interface charge, this C1 will C2 will be 1, right? And if there is a very large interface charge, this C2 will be 0 because that will be pinned at q phi naught. So for general case where interface charge density is large but not infinite, this C2 will be some number between 0 and 1. So basically the slope of barrier versus this metal work function will be C2. Okay, so this is the measured Schottky barrier height for n-type silicon with various different metals with different work function like magnesium, Sb, aluminum, copper, gold, palladium, nickel, platinum, all those things, right? So this comes out to around 0.275 m minus 0.52. Now you notice one more thing here. For silicon, q phi naught is of course the where the neutral interface level is there. So that appears around 0.3 of the band gap, right? Q phi naught by Eg, and around 0.38 here, around 0.6 here. Now if you compare the density of interface state, it is quite large in gallium arsenide, right? And for gallium arsenide, you can see the value of C2. What is the value of C2? Is around 0.07, right? So it is close to 0. Then if you see, it's smallest here for CDS around 1.6, and it is almost equal for gallium phosphide and silicon, and their value is basically around 0.27 for these two and 0.38 for CDS. So if you reduce the interface states, then C2 will increase, and if you increase this the density of interface state, the C2 will reduce to 0. Correct. So effectively we can draw the Fermi level diagram like this. If there is a piece of semiconductor here and we have a metal here whose Fermi level is at different level, let's say one case its Fermi level is above this the pinning the neutral level, and in second case its Fermi level is below the neutral level. So when it is above the neutral level, it will supply the electrons. So this will be filled, right? So there will be net negative charge here. When the Fermi level of the metal is below, it will take the electrons. So this will be reduced, right? So there will be net positive charge. So that means this band is down here, this band is up here, the conduction band, and you will have this kind of barrier. Now if the state is large, so it will not change. So you notice here in both the cases these Fermi level are attached to very close to this this band state, the interface state, right? So regardless of the work function, the barrier is basically not changing. So that is the effect of Fermi level pinning. So what is actually done, we basically measure these barrier heights are actually measured, right? And then the technique that we discussed for ohmic contact, we use high doping at the surface before connecting to the metal. So this way we have covered it. If you have any question, you can ask. Otherwise, we will close here, and in next class we will discuss about bipolar junction transistor. So we have only 2 weeks left. So first week we will do BJT, and second week we will do MOSFET. So any question? No question? Let me stop the recording.